If everything's ready here on the dark side of the moon, play the 5 tones. If everything's ready here on the dark side of the moon, play the 5 tones. If everything's ready here on the dark side of the moon, play the 5 tones.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 10:08 p.m. on March the 19th, 2025. I've been thinking for about 3 weeks how I could possibly put this together. And the truth is, it's incredibly difficult because there are aspects of this that I cannot fully explain, and I'm not used to that. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen in the coming months. This is not summation. This is not guessing. This is not conjecture. This is not speculation. There are some things I can't discuss, but I'll discuss what I can. I'll try and put this together for you. For some reason, I've always had this ability to put pieces of puzzles together. I would just collect the pieces over years and just file them in my memory. And sometimes the last piece clicks into place 20 years later, 30 years later. It just comes to me in an instant. And this one came together about 3 weeks ago. And I knew it was time. I've posted things on X over the years, and it's been kind of a roadmap. I would see things happen that I predicted with 100% accuracy, sometimes to the day, which many of you are fully aware of, to the day. I missed the start of World War III by about 11 days because I jumped the gun and was impatient. I want to show you something that I posted because it won't be long before other people start jumping on this. Sometimes I feel like I should copyright certain things. Instead, I just post it here for the world to see. I want to share my screen with you just for a moment. On February the 26th, 48 hours before World War III started, I posted this as a witness to the world, the 5 tones. So when you see people in the coming days latching on to this theory, portraying this as some magnanimous knowledge they've received, you remember who posted this as a witness to the world on February the 26th. For years, I wondered why so many children disappear in this country. The Center for missing and exploited children, which I have no use for because I know the people associated with it. Most of them are looking for targets of opportunity. They used to claim 750,000 a year. 750,000 children a year. And that number is not even close to the actual number. And then as life went on, and I did certain things and met certain people, I realized why. And it was beyond horrifying. The most powerful currency on the face of the earth is blood. And it's the blood of the innocent. I have pictures I could show you, but I would get banned off YouTube in about 20 minutes. I could give you examples in black and white and color of what happens when the currency for the most powerful knowledge and technology can only be paid in blood. It is beyond evil and vile and horrific. It would make an average person absolutely gag and puke and give them nightmares for years. The amount of satanic ritual abuse that's taken place, only the Creator himself can possibly comprehend. There is a parallel world upon this earth that few people know, and it is the absolute domain of the most evil, vile entity ever created. And it never stops. It is beyond horrific. The most powerful knowledge, contrary to what people may want to tell you, is forbidden knowledge. It's knowledge that mankind was never intended to have. I used to wonder back in the day how certain things were created. I pondered this a lot as a teenager. Did someone just wake up one day and know how to create gunpowder and explosives? Did someone just pick up a plant one day and say, I'm going to make cocaine or heroin, or I'm going to take this plant and I'm going to distill it into alcohol? The thought of invention always intrigued me. As I got older, I realized where that knowledge came from. Who had the idea to forge metal into swords that could be used to quickly kill? And I realized it was all fallen knowledge. It was all forbidden knowledge. And then I realized nothing comes for free. There's always a price to pay for that knowledge. And that price is in blood. The worst thing the enemy can do to hurt the Creator is to hurt the creation he loves most. The most innocent and pure creation there is. And so it was decided millennia ago that that would be the cost for the power and the wealth that many men have desired over the years. That technology has been perfected beyond the comprehension of most people. The technology that they've released to the public, it's many, many years behind what they actually have. This technology is about to become the most dangerous thing on the face of the earth. If you've been paying attention to recent events, and I'm sure most of you have, you've heard a lot of talk about aliens and disclosure. And the president himself spoke about declassifying this and declassifying that. And of course, people are going crazy. It is nonstop. The speculation, the disinformation. It is an absolute whirlwind of emotions and speculations and people who think they know things that they don't actually know. I titled this The Five Tones because that was a puzzle piece that came to me and it locked into place. People who actually control what happens on the face of this earth. They don't hide what they do. They flaunt it. And they've done this for many, many years. Someone that I was listening to brought up a very, very good point. There's a very evil movie called Eyes Wide Shut. I'm sure most of you have heard of it. It was Kubrick's last film, and he died shortly after. They were not happy about it. And this man said something that I had forgotten about. A lot of that movie ended up being edited. If you watch the movie, you see the ritual sacrifice that takes place. The mystique, right? People wearing masks, partaking in this very occult, evil activity. But what you didn't see, few people have in fact, was at the very end of the movie, they cut out one of the most powerful scenes. Because if you could watch the uncut version of that movie, you would see the people who were standing in that room on the outskirts. At the end of the movie, they were allowed to leave with some of their children. And for people who are highly perceptive, they would have understood that everything that took place in that movie involved child sacrifice. So now here we are in March of 2026, and they are preparing to open up the floodgates. Stand by. Need a shot of iced coffee. Two of your greatest enemies are your mind and your emotions. Two of the greatest enemies to mankind. It's your mind and your emotions. And most people are ruled by their emotions. It's human nature and it takes no effort. People have become incredibly emotionally unstable, like we've never seen before. This is breaking out all over the earth. Police officers are pulling people over who just jump out of the car and attack them for, quote, no reason. One of the reasons I married my wife is because she is the most emotionally stable woman I have ever known in my life. And I value that second only to her sense of humor. She has her sad days sometimes. Sometimes she'll get slightly angry over something, but she keeps her emotions in check. I have no tolerance whatsoever for emotionally unstable people, and women are the absolute worst. Men have their issues, but most of them just go straight to anger. And because most people are ruled by their emotions, that's going to be their Achilles heel in the coming months. I looked up a movie today because I remembered a scene from over 20 years ago, and I couldn't remember the movie it was from. And I was standing on my balcony today trying to figure out how I could piece this together, and that movie scene popped into my mind. And it took me about 30 minutes to find it. It was a scene from the movie Independence Day. And after some extensive research, I was finally able to find the scene that popped into my mind. There's a scene in that movie where you have people standing on top of a high-rise building and they're cheering. They have signs that say, "Welcome, take me with you, we love you." And you can look this up for yourself. Just type in Independence Day rooftop scene on YouTube and you'll find the clip. And these people look up at this big, beautiful light and they're absolutely in awe. And it's so beautiful and they're absolutely captivated. It is the most beautiful, amazing thing they've ever seen. And then it kills every single one of them in an instant. This is what's coming upon the earth in the coming months. They're going to completely capture your emotions. They're going to take you hostage, and they're going to do this in a day. And all of these people, for all of these years, who have been operating solely on their emotions first, they're going to fall in a day. This is more powerful than you could possibly imagine. It is beyond powerful. I cannot express to you how well this will work. When you can use technology to give people instant bliss, to make them experience more love than they've ever known in their life, it is euphoria to the 10th power. There's only one example of this that I know of, and I'm going to show you an interview that was done. This came back to my memory. This is the only part of this I ever remembered, but I never forgot this. This is the only example I can give you of this, and this is a very low-level example because I want you to know this is real. Even if it were so, even if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. People are going to start hearing voices. They're going to start experiencing feelings they've never known. And they're going to give in to it. And it doesn't matter what religion they are. It doesn't matter how many Bible verses they can quote. This is absolutely going to capture the vast majority of humanity. And it's going to happen very, very quickly. I'm going to show you a couple of minutes of an interview. You can verify this, it's on YouTube. This man was in the military for many years. Then he was a contractor for the DoD. He got to do a lot of secret squirrel stuff. I'm sure this man has been mocked by pathetic, disgusting fools like many other people over the years who have told the truth, but because it was outside of your little box of reality, people refuse to believe it. Well, they're going to believe it soon enough. These people that have testified to horrible things that have happened to them, and it didn't involve humans, they're going to be vindicated soon enough. This is the only possible example I can give you of this technology. This man has very impressive credentials. Very impressive. He has been there and done that. I would suggest you listen to this very carefully and let it sink in. Because when this happens, maybe some of you will remember this and you'll understand what this is. And you won't completely give yourselves into it. What I'm going to show you before that is old kindergarten technology. This is voice to skull technology. This is child's play now. This professor demonstrated this many years ago. He showed his students what voice to skull technology looked like when he beamed music that only they could hear. No one around them, no one else in the room. They did not hear this with their ears. They heard it inside of their brain. When you hear people talk about beings, entities communicating with them without moving their lips, this is a very low-level example of how this works. Watch their reaction when they understand what's happening to them.
But at high amplitude, you can create sound. So what happens in this apparatus is the audio sound, the sound that you're going to hear, is actually created in the beam, not here. And because it's created in the beam and it stays in the beam, we have a beam of sound. So let me demonstrate this for you. Let me turn it on. And I'm going to find the piece of music that we like.
Yeah.
You may not like it.
The Eagles. You like the Eagles? Okay, good. Oh, we have a friendly audience this year.
Yeah. I think they're just saying it to make us feel better.
Right. All right.
Watch their reaction in awe of this technology.
It's worth the $2,000. It's not our money. Now, the sound that you're hearing is being created in this beam. It almost sounds like it's coming from your head. So let me try to scan the whole audience here so everybody gets to hear this. Absolutely remarkable. Pete, are you getting it? Let's try to, one more thing. Let's try to bounce it off the wall. Raise your...
What you just witnessed is kindergarten technology that would allow someone to beam something directly to you, specifically tailored for you, and the person standing 6 inches away from you would have no idea what's happening. This is low-level tech. What they're going to use is tenfold this. I want you to listen to this very carefully. This is Mr. Jake Barber. He is the only living example that I know of that can even come close to describing what they're going to do. He was a helicopter pilot. I believe he owns his own defense company right now. So when he was contracting for the DoD, he got to do a lot of classified secret squirrel stuff, including picking up aircraft. You would do well to remember this over the coming months.
Well, first of all, it's quiet. When I say quiet, it was quiet on the radios at that time, but my mind wasn't quiet. I start having this very emotional experience. It's almost, man, I haven't explained it this way before, but it's like when you feel like you're about to throw up, but you're not sure. You're like, am I going to throw up? Am I? Oh, no, I'm good. I'm like, no, it's going to happen. Like it was like that, but not a nausea. It was like an emotional escalation that started inside of me that seemed completely foreign. And the closer I got to the object, the more emotional I got.
Sad or ominous,
was-
or how
It was.
would you describe it?
It was. It was. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful feeling. Fuck, but it's so weird. It's like that. It's like that minor chord as a kid. It's like that sad beauty. It's like a first, a minor third, and a fifth. It was beautiful, but there was a sadness to it.
Did it communicate anything?
I didn't get a message other than like, I just felt like I was in the presence of my mother. It was like a feminine energy that was loving and sad, and I don't know what it was, but the closer I got, the more intense it got. I hooked up. As I'm flying back to the drop site, I'm like completely overwhelmed. I'm like bawling my eyes out, flying a helicopter at night, like trying not to run into mountains and shit. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. And then I'm like, I didn't want to tell anyone about this because I'm like, then I'm not fit to fly.
For what you just heard, because you're going to see this play out in the coming months on a worldwide scale. Pay very close attention to what he said. It was hard for him to even describe this. He started getting emotional recounting this incident from years prior. That's how powerful this was. The love and the beauty that he felt was overwhelming. It made a hardened military man cry, and he had no idea why. He could not explain what was happening, but he knew exactly what he was feeling the closer he got to that craft. He picked up a craft that was shaped like an egg. These are pieces of the puzzle that you could put together when you have a gift. An egg-shaped craft, which other military people have talked about seeing. I want you to think back, those of you that are old enough to remember this. This is why it's important to hold on to puzzle pieces over the years and ask your creator to show you things that you know not of. An egg-shaped craft. There was a show on in the, I believe, late 70s called Mork and Mindy. I'm sure some of you will remember it. If you don't, feel free to verify this. Robin Williams played an alien that came to Earth, and Pam Dauber found him, and they moved in together. It was a cool show. Guess what he would do every night, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what Robin Williams in that TV show would do every night? He would get into a craft shaped like an egg and make contact. He would sit inside of a spacecraft that looked like an egg. If you actually had the ability to put the puzzle pieces together over the last 30 years, the last 40 years, you would know what's coming and how they're going to do it. There are no coincidences. They've given you pieces of the map for many, many years. Watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You'll hear a very specific phrase before they start playing the 5 tones that they use to make contact. If we're all set on the dark side of the moon, play the 5 tones. If we're all set on the dark side of the moon, play the 5 tones. And ironically enough, I believe that movie came out in '77, and it was directed by, guess who? Mr. Spielberg, Mr. E.T., Mr. Day of Disclosure that's coming out in less than 3 months. Imagine that. I wonder who he signed the contract with for this back in the '70s. Nothing is a coincidence, boys and girls. This is the dangerous part of this. When this happens on a mass scale, what that helicopter pilot experienced is going to happen to the vast majority of humanity. When things start manifesting before their eyes that can project that kind of emotional power and love and security and beauty that goes beyond description, and love and a sense of belonging and a sense of euphoria that is absolutely beyond description. Take a guess at what your fellow humans are going to do. As it stands today, there are billions of people on this earth that will instantly fall to their knees and start worshiping objects. India is one of the worst. Allow an apparition, something that is unexplainable, to appear in the sky over India, and watch how quickly they will drop to their knees and start to worship it. Asians do the same thing. If you look at people in Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, these people will instantly fall to the ground out of fear and start worshiping inanimate objects as it stands today. People have talked about Bluebeam for years. This far exceeds Bluebeam. This is something that will affect your emotions directly. All these years, people have mocked and refused to believe. And I used to be one of them. I used to roll my eyes at the thought of aliens when I was a teenager. And then when you see certain things and you start talking to certain people, you take a step back and you reevaluate what you think you know. Unless you're an ignorant, delusional fool, like most Christians are nowadays. You need to understand how powerful this is going to be, and you need to know what's going to happen if you give in to this. It will not end well for you. I told people 4 years ago, the day is going to come when they're going to poison everything, and that day is here. There's nothing you can buy that is not poisoned, that is not tainted. The amount of human DNA that you have consumed, I assure you, is something you don't even want to think about. The amount of human DNA that you have all consumed is not something you want to think about. I told you the day would come when humanity would fall in a matter of hours. When you would see people absolutely losing their mind and emotions in a single day. 4 years ago, And that time is now coming upon the earth. And what you think you know isn't going to matter much longer. There's only one way I know to avoid this, because it's going to run contrary to everything you've ever known in your life. You're going to have to resist everything you've always done in your life. You're going to have to rule your emotions. I've been fasting for 5 years and I absolutely hate it. I absolutely despise fasting now. There's a reason I do it. I fasted 4 days last week. I've been fasting for probably 3 days so far this week. I hate fasting, but there's a reason I do it. It's because it keeps me disciplined. It's because it gives me power I would not have otherwise. People don't realize this. When you tame human behavior, when you discipline yourself in certain areas, it actually makes you more powerful. Jesus said in the Bible, this kind only comes out by fasting and praying. Do you understand why? You need to understand that entities know you better than you know yourself. They prey on the weak, just like false prophets and most Christians do. They prey on the weak. They know when you have disciplined yourself. That makes it more difficult for them to influence you. People don't understand this. When you grit your teeth and deny your flesh, that gives you a power in the spirit realm. And they can see that. It is more powerful than most people realize. They will prey upon your weakness, and for most people, that's their emotions. That's how they've taken down the ministers. That's why you have disgusting ministers in this country telling people it's okay to be gay or transgender. It's okay to murder children in the womb. And they laugh about it. That's why you have more delusional people walking the face of this earth, especially in America, right now, than we've ever had. It is a sickness that is more powerful than people can comprehend because it's become so commonplace. And I'm still shaking my head on a daily basis. This is the gauge I use for all of this. I listen to people who claim to believe in God. I listen to people who claim to hear from God. I listen to people who love to quote Bible verses. And that's the barometer I use for this. It is a hourglass, if you will. It is a timeline that reflects what's happening across the face of the earth. I see people who would swear on the Bible that God has told them Barack Obama is the Antichrist or Trump is the Antichrist. And I see Christians promoting this to this very day. To this very day. That's how I know the doors are now opening for all of this. I listen to Christians who say God told me to warn people in 2020, and I know they're lying because these were the same so-called Christians who started telling people the vaccine was the mark of the beast and they were condemned to hell forever. calling them irredeemable. I guess at some point Jesus gave them the judgment authority to determine who's irredeemable, right? Yeah, liars. Telling people their children were condemned to hell forever because they took a vaccine. And yet God told them to warn people. You sick, delusional liars. And for all of you lying prophets that like to smile and get those views, your days are numbered. There are no new seasons. God is not doing a new thing in anyone's life. He's not opening up doors that no man can close. We are now in an absolute war. And I'm not talking about Iran. This is how I know how delusional and stupid these people are. They're always pushing their next big event. They're going absolutely nuts now. They can't wait for the nukes to fall. They can't wait for the fiery kickoff event to happen. These people are distracting you with worldly events that absolutely do not matter. What's happening in Iran absolutely doesn't matter. If a false flag event happens tomorrow on U.S. soil, it doesn't matter. That's not the end goal. That is not the event that will drive humanity insane and deceive them more than the earth has ever known. That is not the event that will cause people to fall to their knees and worship entities in a matter of hours. These people are distracting you, and they're doing this in the name of God because it's all they can do, because they can only operate based on what they see with their eyes and hear with their ears. There's only one way to get through this. There's only one that can offer you protection from what's coming. And I suggest you pick up those weapons very quickly and learn how to use them. I suggest you determine on what hill you're willing to die. And I suggest you make up your mind now if you're going to believe what you feel or if what you know to be the truth. Because if you give in to your emotions and feelings like most people will, you're done. If you remember these warnings, and I promise you there are very few people out here telling you this is coming to this extent and how this is going to work. The only other person I know of who has touched on this is Jamie Walden. He said something and I instantly knew. He knows. He knows what they're going to use and how they're going to portray this technology. He is the only person I know of that's warning people about this to this extent. It's your choice, makes no difference to me. I have no dog in the fight. I will live my life the same, regardless. But hopefully, some of you will remember this warning when this happens. Hopefully. And you'll understand what's happening when you're overwhelmed with emotions you've never known, when your eyes deceive you, when you're told that they are here to help you, to unite us. Let me tell you how powerful this is when it comes to absolute war and life and death. This will be the greatest war the earth has ever known. There will be more death and deception than the world has ever known, at least in recorded history. As it was in the days of Noah, right? As much as my mind can comprehend, I will make that statement. I'm going to tell you how powerful this is. I like to keep things simple. I despise people that talk for hours and say very little. I despise people who just want attention, who always want to put their opinions out there. Imply, infer, and suggest, cry wolf in the name of God, another financial collapse, another nuclear war, the fiery kickoff event is going to happen. And I'm still wondering how the hell that's going to happen when the man who came up with this delusional lie clearly said it would happen when Trump was out of office. But they change their goals, don't they? So understand this. There are untold millions of people who have suffered satanic ritual abuse. And when they absolutely want to scar someone as deeply as possible for as long as possible, let me tell you what these people endure. And I just heard a man testifying to this last night. There's a man on YouTube, Nathan Reynolds, who's very, very well versed in this because he grew up in that family. He can tell you some of the horrible, vile things that happened to him at the hands of his own family members. So you need to understand how powerful this weapon is that you have available to you. It's the fact that they will do everything they can to counterfeit it and corrupt it and cause you to see it as evil. Do you realize that children will have Bible verses read to them while they're being raped and tortured? Do you realize that in the occult, they will dress up as Jesus as they rape young children? They will dress up as priests and bishops as they slaughter children because they want their blood and make other children watch. That's how deeply they try to ingrain that into the minds of young children. That they stand there reading the ancient book while they do the most horrible, wicked things they could possibly do to children. There is a reason they do everything in their power to corrupt that book, to corrupt the mere thought of the man they call Jesus, because they understand how powerful that is if people ever pick it up as a weapon to use against them. It is what they fear more than any other thing. For all the talk that you can hear nonstop now, especially on social media, for all the theories, for all the red alerts, the final warnings, for all of the God's wrath and judgment is upon us, because that's all most of them have now. You need to understand this. At the end of the day, this world has been engaged in a cosmic custody battle since the day Adam fell. If you want to cut through all the BS, understand that. That is the foundation of the earth, boys and girls. We have been engaged in a cosmic custody battle since the day that Adam fell. That is the meaning of the known universe. That is the reason for everything that happens upon the face of the earth. Because the Creator and his greatest enemy have been in a battle for millennia for the souls of men. It is quite simply a universal cosmic custody battle. And he's trying to redeem as many of his children as possible before the day comes when it's no longer possible. Before the day comes when they no longer have the opportunity to make a choice. There is no other protection. There is nothing that will sustain you through this now. And you want to know what's absolutely terrifying? The amount of people on the face of this earth this very hour who can quote hundreds of Bible verses, who claim they hear from their Creator, and yet they are absolute, disgusting, delusional liars. There's a reason that's happened. It's the same reason they tried to mentally brainwash those children in the occult. Because you see that and you start losing faith. I despise those people in a way I cannot possibly describe to you, and I make no apologies for it. When I see people using that ancient book to control and manipulate others, to manipulate them out of money. Isn't that right, Tina Bonsant? When I see people using that word to support what they believe, not the truth, but what they want the truth to be. The next big event, because that's all they have. I absolutely hate those people. They are evil and disgusting, and they have driven people away from their Creator by the millions. And the more they quote their Bible verses, and the more they say, God told me this and God showed me that, the more damage they're doing to people, and the more delusional they are becoming. Saw a man last night who went to churches for months looking for help. He went to churches, the so-called men of God, telling them he was a survivor of satanic ritual abuse, asking for help. Guess what he got from every church that he went to? Guess what the men of God were able to offer him? Nothing. They shunned him, they kicked him out of the church, or they wanted him to give his testimony so they could pad their offering plates. You think it's bad now? Wait till they start pulling pastors out of the churches and beating the hell out of them because they realized they've been deceived by them. Enjoy your suits and money now, boys, because it's quickly coming to an end. And you so-called pastors and prophets and priests and bishops and evangelists, you're going to pay the piper, because they're going to come after you wanting to know why you never told them about this, why you never prepared them for this war. Because you're too busy walking around with your man bun on playing church. The Christian game is quickly coming to an end, boys and girls. I promise you that. It is quickly coming to an end. This has turned into an absolute world war, and it has nothing to do with Iran. This is a war for the souls of men. It is an absolute end-time war for the souls of men. I hope that you remember this warning, because I've done my best to formulate this, saying what I can about it. I hope you remember this morning and you will know what's happening. At the end of the day, this is what I know beyond any shadow of a doubt. There's only one way through this. And it's through the blood of that man that hung on the cross. And they can laugh and they can mock him all they want, because they're going to be the same people on their knees crying and screaming and begging for mercy, and they shall find none. People that have cried wolf and manipulated and deceived others using God's word, they're going to be brought to their knees soon enough. There's no other way through this but to accept the power and the protection that you were offered through the shed blood of the great King. There's nothing else. There's no knowledge. There's no book. There's no God. There's no prophet. Nothing. This is the only protection you will have in the coming days. If you have doorways open in your life, you might want to slam them really freaking fast, because they will be used to destroy you. They know every crevice of your heart. They know everything you've ever said. They know everything you've ever done. Everything. They know where you stand with your Creator. They know everything. They're not subject to your false smiles and your Bible verses and your chants, your little Christian mantras. It will not work on them. They know. Clean your life up and do it quickly, and ask Him to show you great and mighty things that you know not of. And make sure you walk right before Him. And it sucks, and it's the most difficult thing in the world to do. I promise you. I get it. And I'm talking to myself as well as you. It is the most difficult thing to do. To temper your emotions. To discipline yourself. To get every ounce of sin out of your life. To close off any possible doorway that He could use to destroy you. Because I promise, they're coming to destroy you. I promise you, they're going to absolutely capture and enslave the vast majority of humanity. And they're going to do it by using their emotions. Might want to dig into that ancient book and ask Him to show you the truth. You might want to stop listening to people who tell you what you want to hear. And you might want to ask Him to prepare you for the war that is now breaking out across the earth. Do it. Don't do it. It's your choice. As the rest of them like to say, these are just my personal thoughts and opinions. Right? There are no words to describe this. There's no English language phrase that I can use to describe how powerful this will be when they open that door. They've showed you over the years, and the hour is now at hand. Stop paying attention to things that don't matter. Stop listening to people that constantly push worldly events on you. Stop listening to people that always have another big event to push or promote. Stop listening to the prophets and the preppers and the pastors who don't walk in power. They're distracting you. They're feeding their own egos. They're lining their own pockets. Stop listening to those people. They will do you no good. They will cause you to doubt your Creator on the day when you will need Him most. You should never ask God why. Shut up. I've asked God why many times. Well, you should just trust God. Praise God, He's in control. Nope, He's not. He hasn't been in control since He gave Adam authority over the earth, you lying fools. If He was in control, children wouldn't be getting raped and murdered and slaughtered 24/7 upon the earth. Give me some more of your Christian mantras. There are very, very few people that can even comprehend what they're about to do, except the people behind it, except the people who have paid for this technology and knowledge in the blood of the innocents. This will sweep the earth, and it will be more powerful than anything you've ever experienced in your life. And I hope for some of you, when that happens, you'll understand what's happening. You'll understand that it is the ultimate deception, and you'll be able to resist. People like to quote the verse, those who endure to the end, right? Those who endure. Better decide what you're willing to bet your life on, and you better make sure that you're ready to face your own death. And for me personally, this is just my life experience. Your mileage may vary. The only time I've ever been completely comfortable with my own death was when I was walking right before my Creator. When my life didn't flash before my eyes because I was ready. It's a powerful thing when you can look death in the eye and say, let's go. That's only happened to me a few times in my life. And it takes away a lot of the power from the one that's trying to kill you. When you look them in the eye and they know, I'm ready. I will not bow. I will not cry. I will not scream like I've seen hundreds of police officers do who think they're Billy Badass until that moment comes upon them and they scream like little girls. And I've seen a handful over the years that would draw their weapon. And I know this because I worked with them and I watched the body cams, and they would charge straight in. They didn't flinch. They emptied that Glock as they were walking in, and they were ready to die. They didn't run away crying and screaming. That is a rare thing. When you actually embrace your death instead of fear it. When it actually makes you angry and flips a switch inside of you instantly that causes you to leave this earth as a warrior if it's your day to do so. That is one of the most incredibly powerful things in this world. And the only way I've ever found that you can put yourself in that position is to walk right before your Creator. There's a reason that people's lives will flash before them out of absolute sheer and terror. It's because it's a warning. Put yourself in a position where you can face your own death, and you don't need a warning because you're good. I used to always wonder, back in the day, how they knew people died instantly. Then I started working on the back of an ambulance and I saw horrific things in 1994. Things I wasn't really prepared for. And one night I picked up these two kids that had just graduated high school. Samantha Amick and Eric Carpenter. I remember this from 1995. I remember the red Chevy Beretta they were driving when they plowed it into a tree over an embankment. I remember the smell of death from 20 feet away. And I remember peeling this girl off the dashboard. And I mean peeling her off the dashboard. Because her skin stuck when I pulled her legs off. I remember transporting her, and I walked her into the morgue, and I unzipped the body bag before I put her in the cooler. And that was one of the rare times that I ever got sad. That's when I learned to control my emotions, at the age of 22, because I realized if I didn't, I would do what everyone else does and just panic and make things work, and act like a coward, and I refused to do that. The same thing that happened when I went into my first house fire as a firefighter. So I'm standing there in the morgue, and I'm looking at this beautiful 18-year-old girl that just graduated high school, and I'm looking at the shards of glass embedded in her eyes. And this overwhelming sadness just hit me. And that's probably the closest I ever came to crying in all the years I worked on the back of an ambulance. And the doctor walked in with a giant needle, and he said I need to do a stick. So I stood back, and I watched him stick this giant needle into her heart. And I said, why? He said, we can analyze the chemicals. Normally they would do it for a tox screen, drugs and alcohol. And then he said something about epinephrine. And he explained to me how they know when they die instantly. Because they don't have those chemicals in their blood. It happens so fast, there's no time to react, and it only takes a couple of seconds to dump the chemicals. And I realized that's how they could pinpoint this. The amount of epinephrine that gets released before death is staggering. It's an absolute dump into your system. And I had to learn to control that dump many times. And I have a key phrase that I used. I was taught by a retired Army Ranger once, and I used that over the years to control that emotion when I wanted to get scared. Learn how to control your emotions and make peace with your own death. Have no guilt in your life. Close every possible door, because I promise you, they're walking around looking for any crack of light. And that's all they need. One word, one thought, one deed that you haven't repented for, one lie, one deception spoken because you want views on YouTube. One more false warning in the name of God. One more big event that you imply, infer, and suggest the Lord told you about. That's an absolute lie. That's all they need. That's why these people have completely given themselves over to delusion. Just today, I saw another Christian Watchman promoting this fiery kickoff event, promoting this Obama is the Antichrist crap. Just today. That's how much these people have given themselves over to delusion. And I promise you this, when they activate the 5 tones, it's going to be like nothing you could possibly comprehend. Discipline yourselves. Yield your emotions to His Spirit. And it sucks. But you might want to do it now while there's still yet time to prepare for this, because I promise you, The war is here. And as bad as it is today, it's going to be much worse tomorrow and the day after. And in the coming months, it's going to be beyond description. It's going to rival any Hollywood movie you've ever seen. Ask him to give you the pieces that you can put them together. Because he will, and he'll show you how to click those pieces together to see what's coming. Where do you think I got the roadmap that I use on my X account? Why do you think I missed the start of, quote, World War III by 11 days? How did I know they would overturn Roe v. Wade? How did I know this crap would happen with Harris? While the Christians were implying, inferring, and suggesting that Trump was going to be, what? Assassinated before the election. And then when that didn't happen, before he could get sworn in. And then implying, inferring, suggesting that Kamala Harris would become president for a short time and Barack Obama would come back. Yeah, while the Christians were promoting all that delusional crap, I was telling you to the day what would happen. That he would drop out and she would take over. How do you think I knew Trump was going to be elected before the first vote was counted with absolute certainty? I don't just look into a cauldron and sacrifice chickens and see what pops up in the water. He gives me the pieces. That's why I've been able to do this for 4 years. It's why I was able to tell you 6 weeks beforehand that Russia would put boots on the ground in Donetsk. 6 weeks before it happened. It's why I told you about the biolabs and the horrible, disgusting stuff that was taking place in the Ukraine. And Putin knew about it before it ever happened. Because he has given me the pieces, just like he gave me the pieces for the 5 tones. And this, I promise you, in the 4 years that I've been on YouTube, I promise you this, there is no greater warning that I will ever give you than the 5 tones. You remember I told you this. This is the most horrific, terrifying warning I will ever give you about any world events, and it's the 5 tones. It's the release of the 5 tones. Stop worrying about world events. Gas has gone up $1.03 a gallon as of tonight. I'm still here. I'm doing just fine. Food costs have soared. It's okay. I'm still here. I'm doing just fine. Nukes in the Middle East. It's okay. I'm still here. And they're still going to do this regardless. It's all part of their plan. Stop listening to Christians and other people who have you concentrating on step 1 when their end goal is step 10. Distraction weakens you. It prevents you from arming yourselves for the coming war. Why do you think the Christians like to stay in church for 20 years? Because they don't actually have to get blood on their hands if they stay in boot camp their entire life. Church was never meant to be a lifelong vocation. It was meant to train and equip you and kick you out on the battlefield to do what needed to be done. It's like the perpetual college student. They'll stay in college for 7 years because they don't actually have to deal with the real world. They're always learning, right? Always learning and never able to come to the truth. Christians are the exact same way, and the pastors love it. They love their captive audience. They love the money. They don't want the people to leave. They don't want to see their people walk into the battlefield because that cuts into their overhead, cuts into their audience, and it cuts into their ego. And you remember I told you this. You're going to see more Christians falling for this than atheists and agnostics. You remember I told you that. You will see more religious people falling for this deception than you will atheists. Because the religious people, they think they know. Most atheists will admit they don't. Most agnostics will say, yeah, I haven't seen the proof, but you know. The religious people will fall for this faster. They'll be the ones that follow the Antichrist first. Remember I told you that. Your Bible shouting Christian parrots will be the ones that jump headlong into this because they've been conditioned by their child rapist pastors. Why do you think they've infiltrated 99% of the churches in America? Ladies and gentlemen, that is the best advice I can give you. I'll make no guarantee of warranty, implied or expressed. Swim at your own risk. No lifeguard on duty. Do with it what you will. But hopefully, when the time comes, you'll remember some bad shit crazy dude that told you what it was all about. And if that's the case, I've done my job. I wish you all the best. Well, not to be a hypocrite, I wish most of you the best. Until next time.